Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the news on Education Today, reaching you live from Light. I am Nima Ibrahim. First, the headlines. Unical suspends fee hike after students' protest. Drug abuse. Lagos proposes to ban beer parlors near schools. Frustration. Mass resignation have hit public varsities, ASU tells federal government. And on the foreign scene, teenage Russian girl kills classmates and herself. Now the details. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Calabar, Professor Florence Obi, has directed that the new fees introduced by the institution be put on hold until further notice. The directive is in a statement issued by the university's registrar, Mr. Gabriel Igbe, and made available to newsmen on Monday. The institution's management had approved an adjustment in school fees after its emergency meeting on December 1st. The students reacted to the development on Monday when they embarked on a massive protest that halted the academic and official activities in the institution. In the statement, the Vice Chancellor disclosed that the directive to put the new charges on hold was in reaction to the protest, and the statement reads in part, "The management of this institution is a listening administration. Therefore, we want to assure the students as critical stakeholders that appropriate arrangements have been put in place through constructive engagement with the students to resolve the matter." The new charges meant that freshers, returning, and final year students for non-science courses would pay a sum of 111,000 naira, 91,500 naira, and 114,000 naira respectively. Similarly, charges for the science courses were increased to 155,000 naira, 125,000 naira, and 148,000 naira respectively for freshers, returning students, and final year students. Meanwhile, before the adjustment, an average student, depending on the department, paid 64,050 naira as fresher, 52,000 naira, and 49,500 naira as final year and returning respectively. The Lagos State government is considering banning beer parlors and other drinking joints from operating near or around the school environment in the state. The state is also still consulting with relevant stakeholders on the 65 years retirement age policy against the current 60 years for teachers in state employment before implementation. The State Commissioner for Basic and Secondary Education, Mr. Jamiu Ali Balogun, gave this hint on Tuesday at a media interaction with newsmen at Alausa Secretariat Ikeja. The interaction is to intimate the newsmen on the forthcoming 67th National Council on Education (NCE), which Lagos State is hosting between Monday, December 11th and Friday, December 15th at the Lagos Airport Hotel. Speaking further during the question and answer segment, the commissioner explained that the proposal to ban beer parlors from operating near schools is part of the move by the state government to nip in the bud or reduce to the barest minimum cases of drug abuse and other vices, particularly among children and adolescents in the state. According to him, it has been observed that the sellers of hard drugs and the rest are more or less being carried out around businesses and ghettos that are not augured well for the society at large. In conclusion, the commissioner pointed out that the matter is still a proposal and would be subjected to legislation before it becomes the state government's policy, adding that when such would happen is still unknown. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has raised the alarm that most departments and units in Nigeria's public universities are short-staffed due to the resignation of lecturers in search of greener pastures. The union said poor and delayed salaries, unpaid allowances, poor infrastructure, a lack of respect for the academic community, and seeming dwindling hope are some of the factors responsible for the resignation of lecturers in the past few months. The chairman of the University of Ibadan chapter of ASU, Professor Ayo Akinwole, who stated this on Tuesday in Ibadan, added that Nigeria's public universities are in very pitiable conditions with stress and frustration visible in the faces of poorly remunerated lecturers. According to Akinwole, except for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who will arrest the situation by reviewing the conditions of service in terms of salaries, allowances, and infrastructure, many good hands will continue to resign and leave the country. The ASU also noted that it is unfortunate that the same government that is not funding education has a National Assembly proposing to establish 32 more universities. While noting that establishing more universities will not solve the problem, Professor Akinwale rather suggested improving the carrying capacity of existing universities to be able to admit more students. He also noted that the union has received reports on how colleagues resign on a monthly basis because of the way lecturers are treated and poorly remunerated in the country. The leadership of Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has rejected what it described as the smuggling of Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, budgetary allocation in the 2024 federal government's national annual budget. ASU President Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke, speaking on Thursday at the TET Fund Alliance for Innovative Research TET Fair showcase and closing event held at Innovate Technology Hub, Airport Road, Abuja, asked the federal government to stop undue interference with TET Fund operations. Oshodeke, who insisted that TET Fund was established for a specific purpose of intervening in public tertiary institutions, asked the government to separate and remove the agency's budget from the national budget to enable effective implementation. He also noted that TET Fund was established in 1994 following recommendation by ASU when the union was on strike, and the Education Tax Act number 7 of 1993 was promulgated by the then military regime alongside other education-related decrees, and that the decree imposed a 2% tax on the assessable profits of all companies in Nigeria. He said since then, TET Fund has been making visible impact, wondering why for the first time TET Fund budget found its way into the national annual budget proposal presented recently by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu before the National Assembly. And on the foreign scene, a 14-year-old girl has shot and killed a classmate and wounded 5 others before killing herself on Thursday, December 7th at a school in the western Russian city of Bryansk. Regional Governor Alexander Bogomaz described the shooting as a terrible tragedy, noting that the 5 people wounded were all children with minor or moderate injuries. According to preliminary investigation data, a 14-year-old girl brought a pump-action shotgun to school from which she fired shots at a classmate, Russia's investigative committee said in a statement. The statement said there were 2 fatalities, one of which was the shooter, and 5 people with injuries. Investigators are working to determine the motive behind the action. That's all on the news for today, but before we go, a quick recap of the major stories. UNICAL suspends fee hike after students' protest. Drug abuse. Lagos proposes to ban beer parlors near schools. Frustration, mass resignation have hit public varsities, ASU tells federal government. And on the foreign scene, teenage Russian girl kills classmates and herself. That's the news. It was compiled by Nima Ibrahim and edited by SAHEED AREMU. For coverage of your educational events, seminars, conferences, fairs, competitions, among others, don't forget you can call us on 0702 507 4268, or you can send us an email via educationmediaservices@gmail.com. The program continues. Please stay with us.
jìyà iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé ẹ̀dàkùn yé ẹni òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé ẹ̀dàkùn yé ẹni òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀dàkùn yé ẹni òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
That's all we can take on the news for today. Right now, we'll take the Did You Know segment with Aisha. Hello, Aisha.
Hello, Nima. Good afternoon and welcome to the Did You Know segment of Education Today, where we consider random ideas, thoughts, personalities, events, concepts, and celebrations that many people are unaware of. The objective is to broaden our horizon and increase our base knowledge of things around us, beyond what is taught in schools and classes. I am Aisha Ozin. Today we want to talk about the Aboriginal Australians. Australian Aboriginal people are one of the two distinct groups of indigenous people of Australia. The other being are the Torres Strait Islander people, widely regarded as Australia's first people. They have lived on the continent for over 65,000 years. Diverse and culturally distinctive. They are represented by more than 250 distinct language groups spread throughout Australia. About 3% of Australia's population has Aboriginal heritage. It is generally held that Australian Aboriginal people originally came from Asia via insular Southeast Asia, now Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, East Timor, Indonesia, and the Philippines, and have been in the Australia for at least 45 to 50,000 years on the basis of the research at Nuwabilia and Majebebe, archaeological sites in the Northern Territory. However, some scientists have claimed that early humans arrived considerably sooner, perhaps as early as 65,000 to 80,000 years ago. Traditionally, Aboriginal Australians were hunters, gathered with deep understanding of the environment. They practiced sustainable living and had a complex system of law and social structures. The arrival of European settlers in the late 18th century had a devastating impact on the Aboriginal communities, including dispossession, diseases, and policies of assimilation. Between 1910 and 1970, government policies of assimilation led between 10 and 33% of Aboriginal Australian children being forcefully removed from their homes. These stolen generations were put in adoptive families and institutions and forbidden from speaking their native language. Their names were often changed. Today, Aboriginal Australians face various challenges, including social and economic disadvantage. There is ongoing effort for the recognition of their rights, land claim, and preservation of their cultures. Aboriginal art, music, and dance have gained international recognition. Efforts are being made to preserve and retrieve Aboriginal language and cultural practices. The term Aboriginal can also refer to indigenous people in other regions, like the First Nation, Inuit and Métis in Canada, Native American in United States, and indigenous community in other parts of the country. These groups have their unique culture, language, and histories, often characterized by a close relationship with their ancestral land and nature. Many of these communities face similar issues, such as struggles for land, cultural preservation, and overcoming socio-economic challenges. Now you know. I am Aisha Hussein, and that's all on the Did You Know segment for this week. Education Today continues shortly. Please stay with us.
ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá ẹ̀dá kúnyé ẹ̀yìn òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá ẹ̀dá kúnyé ẹ̀yìn òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀dá kúnyé ẹ̀yìn òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
That was the Did You Know segment. Right now, we'll take the International Day segment with SAHEED.
Good afternoon and welcome to the International Day segment of Education Today, where we take a look at different days earmarked by the United Nations to commemorate different aspects of our lives as global citizens. I am SAHEED AREMU. Today, we will be considering the International Anti-Corruption Day, commemorated every 9th of December every year. The International Anti-Corruption Day is observed annually on December 9. This day aims to raise public awareness of corruption and what people can do to fight it. It's a day to promote integrity, accountability, and proper management of public affairs and property. The United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCCA, adopted in 2003, is the primary international instrument for this cause. The day serves as an opportunity for government, the private sector, non-governmental organizations, the media, and citizens around the world to work together against corruption. Through various activities and events, International Anti-Corruption Day highlights the critical importance of maintaining transparency, upholding the rule of law, and fostering an environment where corruption is not tolerated. It's a reminder that combating corruption is crucial for achieving a fair society, reducing poverty, and ensuring sustainable development. Corruption has negative impacts on every aspect of society and is profoundly intertwined with conflict and instability, jeopardizing social and economic development and undermining democratic institutions and the rule of law. Corruption not only follows conflict, but is also frequently one of its root causes. It forces conflict and inhibits peace process by undermining the rule of law, worsening poverty, facilitating the illicit use of resources, and providing financing for armed conflicts. Preventing corruption, promoting transparency, and strengthening institutions is crucial if the targets foreseen in the Sustainable Development Goals are to be met. The 2023 International Anti-Corruption Day, IACD, seeks to highlight the crucial link between anti-corruption and peace, security, and development. The 2023 IACD commemorates the 20th anniversary of the UN Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC. As we celebrate this milestone, we reflect on the positive changes brought by the collective effort driven by the convention. Equally crucial is our examination of the remaining gaps that require attention to ensure that this mechanism continues to strengthen in the years ahead. That's it on the International Day segment. I am SAHEED AREMU. Education Today continues in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
You're still on to Education Today on Light Radio, and right now we're moving into the discuss segment. And this afternoon we will be discussing NANS and students' unionism in Nigeria. Are we still on track? On 1st December 2023, the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, elected a new leadership to succeed the Usman Barambu-led National Executive. The convention was marred by violence, with gunshots raining in the atmosphere and many delegates sustaining various degrees of injury. There were also different claims to the leadership. This has been a recurring decimal in NANS, as the organization seems to have been hijacked by cultists, expelled students, postgraduate students as well, and even politicians with different political affiliations. This has continuously affected the relevance of the organization and the effectiveness to the plight of Nigerian students. Now, do students of today know NANS? How relevant has it been in the past few years? Does the government reckon with it as true representative of students' interests? How can it be reformed to perform its statutory functions like it did in the past, especially during the days of the military? These and more are the questions we'll be ruminating on the program today, as it's going to be a free discussion this afternoon.
Joining us on the program today
is our humble selves, myself, SAHEED, and Aisha. Those of us in the studio.
You can be part of this discourse also by sending your comments and questions to 0809-738-4000, or drop your comment via the live video feeds on Facebook and YouTube. Before moving into the discourse proper, our short quiz. Where can the Aboriginals be found? That is, in which country can you find the Aboriginals? Send your answer to the WhatsApp number 0809-738-4000 or our Facebook or YouTube pages. The first correct answer wins the prize.
All right, so delving into the discourse proper, the first question I'll be posing it to SAHEED is, what is NANS? I mean, what is NANS? You know, to the average listening to us, what do you think the NANS Association is? And who are the members of the student body? Okay,
thank you for that question, Emma. If you say NANS, like literally, it is an acronym, and it's short for National Association of Nigerian Students.
Okay.
So from there, we can see that NANS is supposed to be like a body of Nigerian students representing
Nigerian students. Right? Okay.
So the question of who are its members automatically is answered by that. So NANS should contain people who are students. However, that is actually not what we see, where we have the leadership of NANS, right? Well, in its members, I mean, like consisting of people who have graduated, political thugs, and people that generally represent the interest of the average Nigerian student. So, but yeah, what is now supposed to be still remains an association of students that represent the interest of Nigerian students, and they're supposed to like represent Nigerian students here, right, and those even in the diaspora. However, if they can't now actually represent Nigerian students here, then we're in the question of representing people or Nigerians abroad is like completely out of it. Anyway, that is NANS for me.
All right, so moving on to the next question now. The statutory functions of NANS. What are the statutory functions of NANS, and do you think they've been keeping up? I'm still I'm posing the question to you, Said.
Yeah.
Do you think they are keeping up with their, primary rules and responsibilities as a student body who's out there to promote the interest, project and promote the interests of the average voiceless Nigerian students?
Okay, before NANS was formed in 1983, the
Okay.
precursor to NANS was NUNS, Nigerian Union of National Union of Nigerian Students.
Okay.
So its duty, NANS, which is actually a very funny name, became NANS in 1983. Yeah. So when NANS was formed,
Also, you're saying it was originally nuns.
yes,
Okay.
like NANS, the
National Union of Students.
or the
Okay.
Christian nuns, I don't know. Perhaps that was one of the reasons why they changed the acronym.
Name.
Yeah, so the responsibility of nuns was actually very simple as before, to ensure that every Nigerian, every Nigerian has access to education. So regardless of your background, your class, right, where you came from, your nationality, your religion, so you have
Quality.
you have access to quality education, right? So then how is that supposed to be achieved? Yeah, NANS has this entire body of shall I say regulations that they set up to ensure that at any point in time no Nigerian or maybe no
Nigerian
Nigerian
students,
student
you
is
mean?
deprived of that right to education.
Okay, which is a
So,
basic right,
Yeah,
actually.
so now it has this it has a body of leaders. It has the president, it has the vice president, and every member of the executive cabinet who ultimately work together to ensure this primary responsibility, access to education by Nigerians. So that is statutorily the function of NANS. Is supposed to represent Nigerian students, like the your background says. It's supposed to be the true representative of Nigerian students, informed
Yes.
like to the president, to other political agencies and bureaucracies. In fact, so it's supposed to be the body that represents the interest of Nigerians. It's supposed to complain about issues like the case of Unical students, where there was an hike in fees.
Yes.
That kind of situation.
Even here in
Would have
Lagos,
been
we've
prevented.
had such a similar case
Yeah.
with University of Lagos,
Lagos,
and
Exactly.
almost everywhere now in Nigerian
Yes,
universities.
yes. So for a university that has the NANS, which obviously is supposed to be every university, right? So the duty of NANS will be to ensure that every student in that university has unhindered, uninhibited right to quality education, right?
Okay.
And represent and they take these challenges that the students are facing, so either the university leadership itself or to the leaders of the country itself.
All right. Thank you for providing, the answer to that question. So, my next question is going to be directed to Aisha. Aisha, in your own perspective, do you think that, tertiary institution students are well aware of the existence of the so-called student interest body and its functions? Said here mentioned some of the functions of NAN, such as projecting and protecting the interests of the average Nigerian students and others. Do you think that Nigerian students even have it in their mind that, there's a body that, something like democracy, government of the people, so in this case now, there's a body for the students,
By the students, for the
and,
students.
that kind of thing. Do you think they have it, an average Nigerian student have it in their mind that, if anything happens here,
There's this body I have to
concerns me as a
report to.
student, there are some people out there that can help fight for my right. Do you think there's this awareness about the student body?
Well, as a student myself, I don't really know about them too. So, talking about an average Nigerian student, I'm average. So,
Okay.
I personally do not know about them, except for, when you just start searching about them. So, I don't think students know about them, because all of these issues we are having so far as regards school fees hike, everything, and then students, in individual schools are rallying around. If they had known that body, I think they would know how to channel their grievances to that body. So it is that body itself that's going to fight it for them, thoroughly, and then they'll get whatever it is. It wouldn't be lasting this long, be stretching before the government now says it should be hold and like that. So if a Nigerian student know about them, I don't think we should have issues, because they will have representative in individual schools in every part of the country that will go back that, okay, in my school, this is the problem we have, and I think this is the way we are going to sort it. And, we'll not be having so much education apathy as regards all of this, because even students are getting frustrated. If they know about the body, I don't think we should have any other issue. So an average Nigerian do not know about nuns or nuns. So even if they have them in their school, I don't think there is much awareness about them.
Okay.
And even if there is, the only thing you know about them is about the social night,
Like the
all of those fun
that
activities. Yes, they don't know about the essence of their existence.
Okay,
so
I understand where you're coming from. And I also read somewhere that one of the statutory functions of NANS is to enhance the capacity building of the students, organize functional
Programs.
and beneficial programs for them. They could collaborate with institutions, other institutions,
Companies.
other student bodies, yes, companies, and initiatives like that. But the fact, like you said, is an average Nigerian student does not even know that there's this body out there that is meant to organize this video. They say schooling is not just about, it's
Going
not
to
limited
school.
to the four walls of the
classroom,
classroom.
yes.
All these capacity buildings, perhaps if NANS lives up to
Functioning.
expectations, you go to school one day and you see tents being set up and they're asking you, come on lending, it's courtesy of a student body that's out there to protect you. That perhaps that mindset would have changed
Of course.
to us now. So that leads me to my next question, and that is directed to SAHEED again. How effective do you think NANS has been in coordinating student activities across the Federation? And by student activities, I do not mean protest, although you can come in from that angle as well. But because this NANS in particular, what we see mostly of them in the media, what I see mostly of them in the media is they're organizing protest. So is there something else that they do apart from
Aside
just
from
protest? Because I understand quite well that this protest is also about the interest of the students. But do you think that they live up to their name in protecting the rights of students? So what are the effectiveness of NANS, and how far do you think they've been able to achieve them?
Yeah, I would like to take my response from the conversation you just had with Aisha right now.
Okay.
So if they had been effective in coordinating student activities, then obviously many students should definitely be aware of them, right? So like you said, one of the responsibilities is capacity building, right?
Yes.
So if you are actively involved in building the capacity of students, through, like you said, might not be protest, but maybe through organizing functional programs, debates, actually.
Yes.
You can have events, seminars and conferences where you discuss the impact, like the role of students in nation building. Yeah. So these things we've observed are largely absent when it comes to like the issue of NAS. So if you are not coordinating students through programs, right? You're not coordinating students through events. You're not coordinating students through interacting with them, right? Trying to understand what their plight are, right? Their grievances, like Aisha said, right? Then how do you actually want to coordinate students, right? And if you're not doing this, obviously the result will be you are just largely you are non-functional, you are not active. No one actually knows what you stand for. No one knows what you do. However, what I think I would also like to look at like what is NANS supposed to be doing? Where was NANS even founded in the first place, right? Like we said, it is to represent the interest of students.
Yes,
and
definitely.
Yeah, when this started, right, it was largely effective. NANS was known but nationwide as the body that stands for the interest of Nigerian students.
That represents
everywhere.
the average Nigerian students.
Yeah, and they did this through interaction with, say, various political authorities, right? To student leaders even with university leaders, right? So if there were issues concerning the welfare of students, it was the responsibility of NANS to visit that school. Maybe the representatives, right, in that particular school, they liaise with
the national body.
Exactly, they liaise with the university leaders, and they try to resolve the issues that might actually have affected the student. But then down the line, through the years, that aspect of NANS has been completely lost. We are seeing something different entirely. I mean, like you said in your background, now NANS is having an issue, right? There was a violence at their conference, at Congress, where they're supposed to hand over power to a new set of executives. So if you are unable to balance your own internal issues, right? How do you want to coordinate external affairs?
Yes,
so I believe the essence of NANS has been completely lost. So.
I was even thinking that perhaps the relevancy of NANS is not being felt. Is not being felt by the average Nigerian students, in the sense that, like you rightly said, they cannot even coordinate themselves. Their house is in disarray, so to say, and NANS is now believed to be something like a tool for perpetrating violence by politicians, by these selfish politicians out there. So even an average student that wants to join NANS, you want to run for a leadership position in the student body, it's like you're putting yourself out there that, okay, I'm to these selfish politicians that I am ready for you to use, as long as I get something else in return. So I think it has become more of a selfish, how do I put it?
Yeah, actually.
Yes, like people going there are not even going there.
They don't have the...
Yes. So it's now like a selfish interest. You see people run for NANS position and it's like a do or die affair. It's either they win or there's bloodshed, you understand? And then when they get there eventually, what do?
All of the manifestos are gone
exactly
down the drain.
And then a few years after, you see this person run for a political leadership position again later, and you'll be like, was this the reason why?
And then they will even now give reference back to that NANS
exactly
that this president
exactly
our person.
So the relevancy of NANS has not been felt so much, although we have seen cases whereby they come out to really protect the rights of the interests of students, but then I don't think their impacts have been felt that much by the average Nigerian student. And that leads me to my next questions to Aisha, which is, do you think the government reckons with NANS as a true representative of students' interests? Do you think the government even counts them as anything, like as a voice to represent the voiceless Nigerian students?
Well, do I think? I don't know if there's a yes or it's a no. But then seeing the groups of executive amidst the NANS people, all of them are government people. So it is either they are there for themselves, or okay, because you have my you are the one in this office, and okay, I'm representing NANS here. Just do this for me, and then I'll go and give you a clean face in the presence of all these other persons. Like, so whatever it is. If it is for selfish interest, then I think yes. But then if it is for the actual reasons why they are being created, for the student rights and all, I don't think they have the love of students in mind when it comes to that. So if the government recognizes them, they recognizes the name, they recognize the persons that they face every time. I don't think they know about all of the persons behind the name, aside all of the executive, aside all of the person they know immediately in their executive. So
yeah, I would just like to provide a different perspective than what Aisha said.
Okay.
Right. So when President Tinubu came on board, he had the meeting with NANS executives in order to review the educational manifesto, the educational agenda, right? So it was like a closed door meeting, right? And we saw a report that the president met NANS leadership. Then the question every Nigerian student was asking was,
who are those leaders?
Exactly, right? Do we even, recognize them? Even if the government actually recognizes them, because statutorily, like you said, it's supposed to be their function. But Nigerian students themselves, do we recognize NANS, right? So how much of our cover, like when I say what aspects, right? To what extent did NANS actually
fight for the interest of the students?
Exactly, over what matters to Nigerian students, right? Or is it just a case of, Mr. President, I
don't even know why we have a student union meeting and then do it closed doors. Why? All of your persons are outside and then you are doing a closed door meeting.
Exactly. It's not like this is a meeting with the ASU leadership or with academic staff, but this is a meeting with students. Leaders. So, and it's supposed to be on the interest of students. So these are questions that we're actually just asking ourselves. The government might recognize NANS, right? But do the student actually recognize NANS? Because, I can maybe say 90% of students, right? Does NANS represent you? The answer will probably be NANS represents
everyone
itself.
is fighting for their own
exactly.
head and stomach.
They don't represent the interest of Nigerian or the interest of Nigerian students, yeah.
So the government actually recognizes NANS, but they don't they are not working for the interest of the student.
Okay.
Summarily.
Okay. So if you have a word for Nan's leadership out there, as a student, as a Nigerian student, you said you have not been feeling their impact. You do not even really have a grasp of what the
What
student
they do.
body is about, what they do, and we know what they are supposed to do. If you claim to be fighting for us and we have grievances, we have things that we need people to truly represent us in, what do you have to say to them?
Personally, I would
Yeah,
ask
let me
them
start with
to
you.
go back to the grassroots. Like the way we see them up there, they should just calm down. They should go back to the grassroots, go back to all of the tertiary, the polytechnic, the university, and go and have active body aside the one that the schools, like aside the student union of schools. They should have their executive in their midst, so that whatever it is they are bringing up, it is actually legit.
Yes, it is
Like
truly
true,
coming
yes,
from
from the
people that
school.
need it.
It's not
Yes.
just people that will sit down one place and be like, okay, I think they need this. Don't just think. It should be what they actually need. So NANS should go back individually, maybe write letters or form student union, and just make everything active, so that whatever it is we are getting from NANS, it should just be channeled back to students, and it
that
wouldn't
truly
miss
need
them.
it.
Yeah.
What about you, Said?
Okay, thanks. NANT itself, I said before, does not contain students. The largely contains of maybe
Yes, that's
Graduate.
another
That-
angle to come from it. You claim to be a student's body. It means that you should consist of students majorly, right? But the reverse is what we have now.
Exactly,
We
so-
have people that have left
School.
the school
Like-
system.
But then they will
many
still
years
tell you they are
ago.
still schooling now. When you are still doing your PhD, you are still a student. When you are doing your MSc, you are still a student. So they can still claim being students too.
the
That's
problem is
There's no
most
age
of these
range
people
to
are not
learning.
actually doing MScs or PhDs.
exactly.
Okay.
That's if they are even truly
Doing
doing
it.
those programs they claim to
Yeah,
be
if
doing.
they were doing that, then perhaps we might not actually have a lot to complain about. But these are people that have left school so many years ago, and now they're just
We even
trying to
have
hustle for
dropouts.
political
We
positions.
even hear that some NANs in some branches of NAN, some chapters in some universities have been hijacked by cultists. So
Yeah, I was
you're
going to
being
address
harassed
that
by a
also.
cultist and you want to complain to
Even
Another
the
another
formation of
cultist.
cults
So where's
itself
the
start from
security? Where's the
fighting for
safety?
student right. The formation, like
Like
I read
Mambo
somewhere,
Shinika
yes,
started it, right?
he started
Yes.
the cult is because he wants the right
Well,
of students.
I do not think
Exactly.
that's the case with what
now.
we have now.
So everything
So-
has just gone AWire, and then people
So
are just
we
doing
do
their
not
thing.
even have real students in this student's body again. We do
Yes,
not
so-
have. We do not have people with real interest. People that are selfless and truly ready to serve and just work for students of their institutions. So
Yeah, so if I would actually address NANS, that is like the first complaint I'm going to make to them. You call yourself a student organization, right? But you do not actually consist of students. How does that actually work?
Hey,
We
they
need to
can be
review that.
patrons actually, because even if you want to tell them to start again, you don't know what it is that they are doing before. So if you want to bring in new people, they still have to be there. But then I believe they shouldn't be holding key position, and then this godfathering
Yes,
stuff
so-
that's
should
the
just
point
go
Outside
down.
is trying to raise.
Exactly, and we need to do a very clear distinction when it comes to NANS, right? As a student body and NANS as a political tool.
Affiliation,
Yeah,
yes.
so you can't call yourself.
So
a
they should
student.
not mix up the what's it called? The
The two.
yes, the two. They shouldn't mix up the two.
Yeah, so if you want to be, you can be with this or you can be that, but you can never be both. You
can't be in between.
So they need to also review that, right? And finally, there is this challenge which NANS that particularly have. We don't really hear of them until it comes to, I say, the conferences like this. That means they're obviously making money, right? How?
Through their name.
Yeah, so what are they actually doing with all of those funds that they're getting, right? How can it be that someone who was recently maybe a pauper, then becomes a NANS executive, and next thing you see him driving a car? No. So all of this needs to be reviewed. They need to go back to, like Aisha said, to the basics, understand the main reason why NANS was founded, right? Okay,
Yes.
this is what the NANS is supposed to represent. Then actively work towards maybe reforming that. Like, what are the new? Because
And then they shouldn't just be staying there. Like when these persons have gone, they have gone. Another person should come. You can keep the title of executive NANS member. You can keep it, but then leave the seat for another person to come. So they will just do it for students. Actually,
All right. So my final words to NANS leadership out there would be, let's go back to the drawing board, like my co-presenters have put out there. Let's go back to the drawing board. These statutory functions are out there. Many students may not be aware of the true roles and responsibilities of your student's body, of this student's body, quote and unquote. But then you know why your organization was created. Talk about capacity building, advocacy for students. We have students that are being bullied right in the institution. Sometimes by fellow students, sometimes by the upper hands. Talk about the lecturers and other admin officers, but then they do not have who to complain to. So these advocacy should be taken up again higher. Then we have capacity building. Let NANS liaise with relevant institutions, organizations, civil bodies, and we want to see more of NANS truly fighting for the people, with a government of the students truly fighting for the students, and
by the student.
We hope to see a change in this new administration. So we are wishing the newly elected executives a success in their activities, and we hope that by the time we are having this conversation again, we would have seen a lot of changes
positively
in student unionism in Nigeria. You're still listening to Education Today on Light Radio, and we just finished discussing NANS and students unionism in Nigeria. Are we still on track? Don't forget you can be part of this discussion by sending your comments, questions, and contributions via facebook.com Lights Radio, on Twitter at The Lights Radio, on Instagram Light_radio, on YouTube Light Space Radio. A reminder of our short quiz before we round up. Where can the Aboriginals be found? In which country can the Aboriginals be found? Do we have an answer yet?
No.
We do not have any answer on our Facebook. What about on the WhatsApp? Do we have any answer yet? Okay. No answers yet. All right. Do we have shout outs to make to some of our people watching us live on Facebook? I believe we have one or two people who are, out there and constantly listening to us. We have Fatima Aduni. Thank you for joining the program. We have Aflein Rashidat. Thank you for joining. We have Said Jima. He said, good job. Keep soaring. Thank you. We appreciate you for joining the program. We have Kausara Abiodun. Good job. Thank you for joining. And many thanks to all others who have in one way or the other, continue to encourage us to keep doing what we love doing. Thank you very much. We do not take your engagement, encouragement, and support for granted. That's all we can take on the discuss segments for today. We would like to appreciate everyone that has contributed to the, topic of discuss. Thank you very much. And right now we'll take the words on the Mabu segment.
You're welcome to the Words on the Marble segment of Education Today, where we take a look at memorable quotes that are educational and inspirational to everyone. Today, we have a quote from John Holt. According to him, learning is not the product of teaching. Learning is the product of the activities of learners. Again, learning is not the product of teaching. Learning is the product of the activities of learners. That's our word on the marble for today. For teachers and other educators, learning happens essentially when the learners are allowed to get involved and discover things themselves. We must not colonize the classroom activity. Learners must be allowed to engage in activities that will make them discover knowledge. This is to inform you, our esteemed listeners, that you can advertise your product and services and also showcase your events on our program. This you can do by calling the numbers 0703 953 8998 or 0702 507 4268. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let us know how you feel about today's program through our various platforms on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Education Today, Twitter @Education Today, Instagram Education_Today, YouTube Education Today. You can also send an email to educationmediaservices@gmail.com.
Okay, so the answer to the quiz question once again is, where can the Aboriginals be found? And the answer to the question is, the Aboriginals can be found in present day Australia. If you followed the program from the beginning, under the junior segment, we talked about the Aboriginals who can be found in present day Australia. Many thanks to the entire crew of Education Today and the management of Light Radio. The supervising producer has been T. Wise. And Faye, thank you very much for handling these socials. Do join us same time next week on this station. I remain Nima Ibrahim.
And I am SAHEED AREMU.
I am Aisha Hussein.
See you next week and goodbye.
Goodbye.